again, like, the hurry up and wait.
Oh.
Come in at 3 o'clock in the morning, but we're not actually gonna go
We're gonna
live
draw
until
weapons until,
geez.
but we're not actually gonna do anything until another 8-10 hours
For
from now.
giant, as the military would say, a time suck.
Yeah.
Again, like,
All right. Kelsey, it's all yours.
All righty. Hello, everyone. Happy October.
Oh, we just lost your audio. Oh, no, you're back.
I did.
We lost you and you're back.
I hit my little mute button.
Oh.
Oops. Don't do that, y'all. Well, happy October. Welcome to the October 9th Human Rights Commission meeting. We'll start as usual with our welcome and introductions. I'll start and then we'll go to Zoom and then we'll go in person. My name is Kelsey Murray. I use she, her pronouns. I'm the vice chair of this commission. And I will popcorn to Kira.
Hey everybody, my name is Kira Pressey. I am a member of this commission and I use she, her pronouns. I will popcorn to Alana.
Hey all, I'm Ilana Lynn. I'm a member on this commissioner, or I'm a member of this commission. There we go. And I use they, them pronouns. I'll pass it to Kate.
It's working. Hi, I'm Kate Stratzy. I'm a commissioner, Ward 1, and I also use I use she, her pronouns. Yeah, thanks.
And then Linnell, if you are available.
I'm Linnell. I'm with Safe Sleep United, but here I'm just a guest who adores the work you do. So I try to attend as often as possible.
We are always so glad that you're here.
Thank you. And I guess I'll go to Robert.
All right, Robert.
Hello everybody, my name is Robert Marshall. I am a member of this commission and I will pass it to.
I am Hope Strayer. I'm a member of this commission.
I'm Robert Dowd. I'm a sergeant with the Salem Police Department and the police department's liaison here for the Human Rights Commission.
And my name is Gretchen Bennett, staff liaison to the commission, she, her pronouns.
And good evening, my name is Joaquin. I'm a member of this commission at the Ward 8.
Fantastic. Excited to have everyone here. We'll now move into public comment. I don't believe we received any. Did we, Gretchen?
We did not.
Okay, we did not. Is there any public comment in the space? All right. Oh. All right, Linnell, you have anything?
Just a huge thank you to Robert and all of you for the homeless town hall. I thought it was super well attended, and in spite of one man who seemed very unhappy about everything, I thought it went beautifully, and I'm very grateful that you guys chose to do that, and grateful to Robert for all of the coordination and work on that. I really love the things you guys decide to focus on. I mean, I tend to focus on the homeless ones because that's the one I know the most about, as I'm always learning every day. But it's not just the only thing that you guys do that I super admire and I'm grateful for. So thank you.
Thank you, Linnell. I also want to thank you for offering to share. You captured a lot of people's attention at the town hall, and I'm grateful for you taking some time and jumping up on stage and sharing what you had to share.
Thank you.
Thank you for that, Linnell. We'll now move into consent calendar. I actually have a motion to amend the agenda. So I'm sorry, y'all. But I'm going to move to put discussion of chair position on the agenda.
I seconded.
You know, forgive me. I think that was a mistake on my part.
Oh,
Kelsey.
no, it wasn't. It wasn't.
Election of office. Oh, no. Oh, you're talking about something different.
Yeah.
Forgive me. Okay. Yeah. We have election.
Okay.
Thank you. I'm tracking.
It's okay.
So you're moving that and you're seconding that. Copy.
Yes. Any questions about what I'm planning on doing? Okay. All right. We'll now move into a vote on the amendment. or is there any discussion about that amendment? Okay, we'll move into a vote on the amendment. All those in favor of amending the agenda to include discussion of chair position, say aye or thumbs up. Beautiful. All those opposed? All right, seeing none, that passes. So now I'm asking for a motion to approve the amended agenda and the minutes.
I move that we approve the amended agenda and minutes.
Perfect. It's been moved by Ilana. Is there a second?
Seconded.
Perfect. All right. All those in favor, same thing, thumbs up or aye. All those opposed? Nice. Okay. Moving to the action and or discussion items. Vice crime update. Other
Yes.
Robert.
Hi. Hey, so last month we had none, or I guess in August we had none. In September we had 5. So I think they all caught up. First one occurred on the 5th of September in Northwest Salem. I have it down as verbal confrontation based on both race and national origin. So this one came to me originally through the sheriff's office. In essence, there was a business owner that had some non-patrons on the business property. The people were asked to leave and initially refused. The business owner called police, and while the police were still responding, the subject started recording the interaction, the verbal confrontation, and the words towel head were used in a derogatory manner towards the property owner, and then the property owner called one of the involved a retard. And then this was subsequently posted to social media, and then a bunch of people jumped on social media and were talking about going down and picketing and rioting and having a demonstration outside of the business owner's business. And ultimately, by the time we went out to go do the investigation, the business owner had reached out to the original person who posted it, and they had agreed to meet and discuss a civil compromise in essence. So nobody wanted to pursue any charges. Nobody wanted to pursue any crimes. Not that there were any, this was just a bias incident, but they agreed to handle it between them, and they were going to take the post down. So that's the first one. On the 11th, there was a robbery that occurred in which the N-word was used by the suspect toward the victim. The victim was hit in the face, and their bicycle was stolen. And so we didn't get the information until like 20 minutes after the incident occurred. And so there was no follow-up to be done. There was nobody around, and the suspect was gone. That was in Northeast Salem. On the 19th, there was another one in Northeast Salem. Person and their minor child were riding on a bus and exited the bus. And as they exited the bus, a woman suspect, female suspect, came up and tried to take the child from the mother. And when the mother proceeded to fight back, the suspect said to this person who was Hispanic, "You're invading my country, you're going to do what I say," and continued to try to take the child until the mother was able to safely get their child away. And then they had to go find a business. I guess they didn't have a phone, so they had to go find a business to go into to then call. It looks like we looked into video at the mass transit, but I don't think that the perpetrator, the suspect, was ever on the bus. They just walked up as the person exited the bus. So we didn't have any video of the suspect in that. So that was an attempted kidnap, physical harassment. We have a criminal damage on the 27th in Northeast Salem. Members of the community arrived at their location to find the playground had been damaged and stuff broken. They had like helmets and things that were thrown on the ground and broken. And then written in chalk on the sidewalk around the playground was, "I hate N-words." We went back and reviewed the camera from the property. At around 1:30 in the morning, there's a group of people that come onto the property, but the camera is at such a distance that you can just see figures. You can't make out anything identifiable about the perpetrators. And then the last one comes from the 29th. This is a graffiti incident based on sexual orientation, but basically neighbors discovered that a fence in their neighborhood had been graffitied with a depiction of male genitalia and the word fag painted on the fence. Talked to neighbors, nobody had seen it occur, and there was no cameras in the area that captured it occurring. And so it's quite a month.
Thank you.
You bet.
Yeah.
I was just gonna ask, are there any questions, Ilana?
So so we had one incident of a robbery and one incident of a child trying to be taken. Was there any relation to those, or like what did you increase police activity in the areas following that? Like, has there been any repeat offenses or something that could be related to that?
There's nothing that we can find. The dates were far enough, like 8 days apart, and they were in different parts of Northeast Salem. So there's nothing that we can draw that would conclude that they were the same. One was a male suspect, described as a male suspect. One was described as a female suspect. So I don't think that there's anything that would show a correlation. Can I ask the commission a question?
Yeah, absolutely.
So I don't ever want to be offensive to anybody. I know that I censored myself with some of the words that I used, and I didn't with others. What would the commission and everybody prefer when I'm given these reports? I want to give specifics to show their relevance, but I don't want to be offensive to anybody. What would you guys all prefer when I'm given these descriptions? How would you like me to refer to certain things?
Ilana.
Since it's a public platform, I think censoring it would probably be better, just because, like, even if we are fine with hearing it for accuracy, there might be people who aren't. So if there is a way that you can censor it, I think that would probably be better.
Okay. Yeah, I try to put them into my chart here in quotes so that I can capture because I want to make sure that I'm being accurate, and that's how I would do in a police report, or if I was to testify in court. I would make sure to say that I'm quoting this at this time, but I don't want to be offensive, and so I will try as best I can to come up with a way to convey the message without using any words that might be offensive to anybody.
Thanks for
Appreciate
asking.
yeah. Thank you so much for asking. Joaquin.
Yeah, I remember when Deb was doing it, she would sometimes say something like a homophobic slur
Okay.
or something like that, which, I mean, we don't really have to know. I mean, we all kind of either we all know what you're talking about, or we get the idea.
Okay.
And so that's how I saw her deliver that same.
Okay. I will be better at that. I apologize if I was offensive in any way.
No, you were retelling kind of what what y'all are dealing with and what Salem is dealing with. So thank you.
Apology also to any listeners that I might have offended. So
Appreciate y'all. Any other questions or comments?
There was one incident on Facebook and I directed the person to contact Gretchen. It wasn't a crime, it was a bias incident that happened at Minto Brown. And since I'm on that group, it's just a person who had their dog at Minto Brown's dog park and was just walking, and another person's dog accosted their dog, and the person who accosted them started to use racially biased language towards them, and said basically, you don't belong here, and your dog doesn't belong here, you don't belong here, and you need to get out of the park. And the person was kind of asking what do I do, because this is uncomfortable. And So I directed them to Gretchen, and I think they said they probably wouldn't contact her, but at least that information is there. And they said they would probably try a different dog park, but that's unfortunate to see this kind of like rise or uptick this month.
Hey, this is Gretchen. Thank you for that. I haven't heard that come in to me, but I can certainly include it in the tally for the total report that we have. So I'm glad you brought it forward and provided some assistance and support there.
Yeah. Thank you, Kate. That's kind of a good segue into the complaints of discrimination. Gretchen, I know you received one from Pride. We recorded one and sent it to you.
Yeah, and then I have another one as well that is, sorry, I thought it was right here and it's not, but what so I don't think I brought my right documents in, so thank you. You all had one that came in during the Pride booth and I'm grateful for that. In addition, I had one come in the month of September that related to a person who lived in kind of a shared group living facility who explained that another person there was continually using racially charged, racially offensive language at the person. And so we were troubleshooting and talking to management about how to help that be a safer space for them. Yeah.
Okay, great. Thank you.
One.
Yeah, Joaquin.
So this, I can't remember if it was in late August, early September. So I guess I'm a little behind here, but there was, but I didn't think he was going to report it, and he said it was fine for me to mention it, and I just forgot to. But there at the downtown transit center, he was visiting. He was from Virginia, and he was in Oregon only for a few weeks. But there was a woman who was clearly in crisis, in some kind of mental crisis, and she was very hostile to both he and I, and with me it was kind of just kind of taunting language around my disability and stuff, but with the gentleman she got physical with him, and it was about him being Jewish. He wore kippah, and it was pretty intense, and I actually had a gift in between them too. But that was something that I wanted to mention as well. That was from September, or August. I can't remember what day it was. But I told him to reach out to either one of you, and that he would visit him if he did. Obviously not.
But I'm glad. Thank you for sharing it. We can include that in the total picture for the record. Yeah.
Just for the police department's end, so I get a report on every Monday morning at 7 o'clock. The report's auto-generated, and it's generated based on if the officer completing the report checks a box on the report form that indicates that it was a bias crime or bias incident. And so we've done a lot of training, and we've tried to be really proactive about capturing accurate data and information. We've really tried to hammer home to the officers that we want them to check that box, even if they're not sure.
Yeah.
Which is kind of the one where I was explaining before we had started the meeting, how I got that one. But I don't recall, and I haven't gotten one about that incident at the bus station, so the transit center.
Okay, thank you.
I have another question.
Yes.
DOJ?
We've had no luck.
Okay.
No, it's not right, because you've been asking for a year probably,
Sure.
at least,
Yeah,
quite a while.
basically since I was born. Yeah. Now we have about a year.
So I think I explained at a previous meeting that Deb had been in communication with somebody. They kept promising, oh, we'll get you some data, we'll get you some data. Then Deb had talked to him again at another point and basically said, like 95% or something of the data was showing that it all was concentrated primarily in Salem, and not so much in the smaller outskirt towns. And then Deb said, well, we'd still like some data, and then went radio silent.
Yeah.
And so we just haven't had a point of contact that has been able to get us the information.
And thank you for elaborating that. I remember you sharing that. I couldn't remember if it was in a meeting or after the meeting, so I appreciate you saying that again. I mean, I have a question just to pivot to the commission about this. And we can talk about it later, Kelsey, if that's more appropriate, but as we're navigating data and data inventories, I mean, how is the commission feeling around including DOJ County data just to include it, you know, as if it were Salem, recognizing that maybe 5 to 10% of it may not be Salem? I mean, is that something that people feel comfortable with generally, or no?
What are people's thoughts?
Also, we can table this till later because we'll have an update about it later, but
I think we have time. I'm comfortable with it. Like you said, Salem makes up a good chunk of Marion County, and I think it would be beneficial for our purposes and the city's purposes.
I think the hard part is though, my parents live in northern Marion County, literally North Marion. So they live up by like Donald Aurora area, and it's just very different. It's rural, it's agricultural, and so I could see the difference, right? Maybe how, I don't know. It's very different. So I think maybe if they're saying that some of the data is coming from the rural areas and not so much metropolitan, maybe I didn't hear that right, then it might skew our database, but I don't know. I think Joaquin, we talked about, I wouldn't want it to look like it's inflating our numbers in any way, or making Salem look like we have more bias, crime, or incidents than we have. So we would just really have to like make it clear where that data is coming from, and that it's not just Salem somehow.
and we had that conversation at the last committee meeting too. But thank you for bringing that up, Kate.
Yeah, Joaquin, to your point, I think that I mean, Salem's really unique. We have Marion County, we have Polk County, and we have parts of the county that like you could literally cross the street and you're in the city and then you're not.
Yeah.
And you're in the city and then you're not. And so I think that is from what Deb has been able to explain to me, that is where most of the data for Marion County in particular comes from, is the Salem, and then the areas just around Salem that would, you know, in 2 years from now could be voted in to be Salem properties, or within the city limits of Salem. Deb said that the sense she was getting is that the amount of data outside of the immediate Salem vicinity was pretty small. But I've taken a note, and that will be one of the things I put on my agenda for tomorrow, is to try to reach out again.
Yeah, and I think that's helpful. And to Kate's point, the way we discussed it in our committee meeting was, if we're just transparent about what the data says and doesn't say, then that might be okay. But I just wanted to get a temperature check. I don't really have an opinion. I just wanted to get a sense of what people were thinking.
Ilana had something.
Yeah, I mean, I agree with Kate. I'd want to see what the data is first before deciding if we should use it or not. And like see if it goes into enough detail to be worth using. Because if it's just like surface level, like this many crimes happened, then I don't think it's worthwhile, because it will be inflated. So my answer is, let's see what we can get and then see how we can use it.
This is Gretchen. Would you all like me to include the counties? Well, we'll see what you learn, but then I could always include the county information in an upcoming packet for you to look at.
Yeah.
I will call tomorrow.
Okay, thank you. Sorry about it.
No, you're not a bother. That's what I'm here for.
Okay.
I want to be useful.
Love it. Love it. Okay, great. All right, moving forward to Citizenship, Sanctuary, and Chapter 97. So attached to your HRC email was a piece from Gretchen around citizenship. Any thoughts? Well, Gretchen, do you want to kind of speak to what went into this?
What I attempted to do with the document was hear what you all had discussed in your last meeting and some of the other themes from previous meetings, and put together basically a proposal for a possible meeting that you could organize to try to go more in depth on this topic with some different speakers. And so I think tonight's objective is just to see what edits or changes you'd make to that, if I missed anything, what you think about that as a next step, and barring no significant changes, I wondered if you'd want to aim for maybe January, thinking about we've got Transgender Day Remembrance in November, Salem Speaks Up in December, so just trying to think about making sure we have enough capacity to prepare and be ready. So I thought I'd propose January as an idea, but yeah. Oh, and whether you'd want to hold it with your regular meeting time and just have a larger room and include it in as the primary topic for a meeting, or if you'd want to hold a separate time. So yeah, thank you, Kelsey.
All right, questions or discussion for this piece?
I have a question.
Kate and then Alana.
Sorry. Oh, I'm sorry, Alana.
No, Kate.
So I think when we were talking about it last time, I was getting the impression that it was like a conversation with the city's legal experts on what the city could do to make the city a sanctuary city. And then we're inviting outside partners to listen, and people who are lawyers, and I'm not a lawyer, so that not my area of expertise, but or people who are legally involved, let's say that. So I think so, Gretchen, this just says like there's like a panel of people. Do you view that as like the invited partners would be on a panel, or do you view that as like the city's lawyers or legal experts would be on a panel, and it's more like a town hall, like the town hall we just did about homelessness? Like, what is the format or intention that you were thinking about?
Oh my goodness, thank you. Well, hearing how you heard it, I think I maybe got it wrong. I think as the meeting was I think initially that was how I'd understood it, and so reached out with our city attorney and asked what's possible, and that was that little document that I brought back around, well, we can't really change employment. The general concept may or may not arguably be covered under national origins. So there wasn't, we've declared Salem a sanctuary city in declaration in the past. So I don't think there was a tangible, like, this is what would change in someone's life idea. But then I think what I heard is, but more broadly, how do we help people without documentation be comfortable to come forward and reporting? And are there changes to the city's system that we could make, like the city's code that we could make to help improve comfort, and adding more voices might help amplify that? So I think I thought maybe as it went on, hearing from people who work in the field might help. So I was picturing like people from these various organizations, as well as our attorney's office, being invited to all talk about, I think our attorney might be able to come from the angle of what might be possible, but then the others might talk about what the need is. Because I don't think our attorney has received a tremendous number of examples of here's what the need is, So I guess I was imagining a panel with all of them, like we'd need to identify the questions to ask of them, which I think is what the attempt is on the panelists here, but they'd all answer. But if I got that wrong, we could certainly do it differently. So thank you for raising that question.
No, I think that's good. I think I think the town hall was so successful that people were asking to do something like that again with like maybe a different topic. So I think that sounds good. So I was just clarifying, but thank you. And to know that we are already a sanctuary city is really helpful. And I know Levy's been working on kind of getting people together to put protections in place for his community, especially around November. So thanks.
Ilana?
Yeah, I like sorry, I'm getting over a bit of a cold. I like the idea of doing a like special meeting for this. And 90 minutes seems appropriate to me. I think that we should start it, if we choose to do this, that we should start it with someone from the commission or Gretchen framing it and saying like, this is why the commission's interested. These are the conversations we've had, and like, this is what we want to talk about moving forward. for the panelists, but also just for the public. And then I would just add a facilitator to the panel as well, someone from the commission or Gretchen, and add a question similar to the last one of like, what suggestions do you have? But like, as a legal person, like, what can we do? Like, just a straight up question of like, what can be done? Has this been done anywhere else?
Right.
I have one question. If we made it a meeting, it would have to be live streamed. Would it be a barrier for folks to come share their experiences out of concern of either discrimination or violence? I don't know.
I guess also to that point, how do we make sure that it's linguistically responsive to, you know, the population who this primarily affects? If we do it in English, but you know, a lot of the stuff we're talking about primarily it's you know, affects, you know, I'm just assuming it would primarily affect a lot of Spanish speaking citizens. How do we make sure this information is being presented in a language that they're able to listen to and fully engage and participate in those conversations?
Thank you, Robert. I think Joaquin has something, and then back to Ilana. You looked like you were going to speak.
I didn't. I was just looking
Oh.
at, I was looking for reactions from people. I mean, but I'll say, yeah, sure. I as someone who has always been advocating for, you know, linguistic inclusion, I would go so far as to say the event should be in Spanish. And have it translated in English for anyone who doesn't speak Spanish and would like to.
I would second that.
I would just be concerned that not everyone on the panel would speak Spanish. Because we did have people from like legal aid.
Oh, legal and stuff, yeah.
As well as like Salem for refugees.
Salem City
Oh,
Attorney.
yeah, that's true. Well, maybe not. Bilingual. Make it, what is that, 3 hours? No. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know. I think your point's well taken. I mean, I don't know.
I think those are things we can discuss as we,
Yeah.
you know, go through the planning and how can we best ensure that this material is inclusive of language spoken.
And I think, you know, I don't know if we couldn't, other than the city attorney, I'm sure there are people in these professions who speak
Yeah.
Spanish. I don't know. I wouldn't say it's impossible. I think it could be possible. And I think it'd be pretty awesome to have a city event that was entirely in Spanish. I think that'd be great.
Yeah, I agree. I think I mean, it could also be primarily in Spanish, and then those that need it translated into English, and then we can, you know, let's just, for example, say the city attorney is maybe the only person that doesn't speak Spanish, or the only person that doesn't have somebody within their department that speaks Spanish. We can just translate their portion, but the rest of it can still primarily be in Spanish and translate to English.
Okay, so what I'm hearing from folks is we would like to move forward on this, whether that it is a meeting or a special event. Does that sound right? Okay, beautiful. Are we, Kate?
Sorry, two things. One, Joaquin and I found during Viva Salem that at least one person couldn't read. So I think that's just something to note if we are expecting translations to have captions. So that is important. But two, at the at the Willamette event I went to about immigration and deportations, when my husband and I showed up, and we were there to support RJ Navarro. So we were there to support like just a speaker, right? We weren't we didn't introduce ourselves when we walked in. And I think we kind of scared people because they didn't know who we were. And there were some folks in the room who were undocumented, who had experienced, who had gone through an experience with ICE previously and were sharing that experience. And it was very traumatic for them and how they had been like separated from their children. So I think also just if we have this in a room, that is always going to be a fear for people too. So just keeping that in mind, like they actually asked us if we were ICE, and I was like, absolutely not. I would never ever do that. But it's just something like, even though we are a sanctuary city, that is still a very real fear for people. So I was just thinking about it like, oh, we could get like, even if it is a town hall, we get a lot of people in a room together. And then I'm like, that will always be a concern for folks, I think. Yeah.
Ilana?
So just like, I mean, I love all of this. I think it's a great idea to do something geared towards the public. But my understanding of this panel was that it was more so for us as a commission to understand like what we're capable of and for the public to also like learn about it, but it wasn't necessarily like to be an informational. I think that that would be amazing to have. But I think like, I mean, I need more information before we can do anything as a commission, and that's just what I thought the goal of like meeting with all these professionals was.
That was my understanding as well.
And so just like it sounds like it's becoming more about like informing the public instead of informing the commission, which like fine either way. I just will also need like these questions answered for me before we can do anything, you know? And so
Okay,
I think the
okay.
questions as a commission are slightly different than like what the public would be interested in.
Okay, so we're having either like just a commission. Well, and it can't just be us. It has to be like a public meeting. But with the idea of us asking the panelists to get more information, or like a town hall format, kind of like we did with the homelessness event. So I'm wondering, what are other people's thoughts about this? Do we want to move forward with one and then eventually move forward with our meeting with them and then a town hall, or what are people thinking?
So my initial reaction to that is, I think it can be complementary. So to Ilana's point, I agree. I mean, we are trying to get at a place of understanding so that we can make recommendations. And I've been very open from the outset. The recommendation may be akin to what we did with houselessness, an actual amendment to the city code, or it could be recommendations to changes in policies that the police do, or it could be an educational campaign. It's not clear to me what that looks like. I have no preconceived notions of what that might look like. And that process is ongoing. We could concurrently do what I think the conversation has evolved into, which is more like a informational session around immigration services or something, or or something like that, which is different but complementary. That could be in Spanish and doing things like that, which also might solve some of the linguistic barriers that you're talking about, because those people do have who speak Spanish. And I will say there's some, outside of what we already talked about, there's some need for that, because at BIWA, was it last Saturday? Lord. There were several people who thought, which we are a government, we thought we were the government. And they were like, oh, you're gonna help me with my immigration. And I was like, no, ma'am. No. And so, but for a lot of folks, we are the ones out in the community, we being the city, or even the HRC, as specific as that. And so they gravitate towards us, and it'd be wonderful to be able to guide them to resources in a more public way, like what Robert organized with houselessness. I mean, I think I'm very, 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 very open to your point, Ilana, have both in some way.
Okay. How do we want to move forward on this? Do we want to do a vote? Do we want to kind of table this until next meeting so we can kind of think about it, what our next step is? Or do we want to maybe move forward with a meeting with them? Ilana.
My vote would be to move forward with meeting with them, and then from that meeting, come up with the best way to present that to the public in a town hall. And then also we could possibly present on what the commission is thinking of doing with all this information, if there's anything we can do. So it's just more well-rounded. But if this is an issue that comes up before we have time to have that town hall, I think that then we should reconsider.
That's what I was thinking too.
I think I agree if I understood you right, Ilana. So then the question for me becomes, are these all the partners, and you did a really good job, Gretchen, putting them on this list, but are these all the partners people want to be a part of that internal conversation? Or is anyone missing from this list they'd like to be at that table?
It's totally okay if you like
Yeah,
if
you can
we
think about
can't
it.
think of anyone else. We can also email Gretchen if you're like, oh my gosh, I thought of this organization or this person.
I would say probably somebody from Fair Housing Council of Oregon.
Sure.
Especially as it relates to, individuals that are, experiencing discrimination based off their citizenship status, and also, just to learn kind of what resources specifically, are in place and what recommendations they would have that could also align with some of our other broader housing objectives.
Copy.
And if maybe you aren't able to get someone from their Salem Housing Authority.
Yeah.
Since that's helpful. Should be easier.
Yeah. Thank you.
I figure they know you.
They do.
So hard to get a hold of some housing authority.
Okay, Gretchen, does that sound doable for you?
I think so. I think I'm hearing
Okay.
you'd like to move forward with a conversation with these partners to help gain more clarity and information, and then decide how to move forward with a more public type of gathering. And you'd like me to add Fair Housing Council of Oregon, but if I can't grab them, then Salem Housing Authority is a backup idea. And 90 minutes. And I wasn't sure, we had one idea for a special meeting. So I don't know if folks would agree, like an extra date in the month of January, or if you want me to grab your January meeting, or if you want to think about that. But as I start aiming towards scheduling, I think that would probably be my other question.
Ilana?
Yeah.
I vote to think on it, and I'd also recommend that we have an extended public comment period for that meeting. Just in preparation for if we get flooded with people.
Okay.
Okay, so let's plan on our November meeting, having a decision on whether we want like a special other date or a regular meeting.
Copy.
Kate, you unmuted before, and I just want to double check that did you have anything?
No, I was just gonna clarify for Gretchen. Jenny's legal organization. Jenny is a professor of ethics and like immigration at Willamette. And Gretchen, I think I sent you her info. I'm just trying to find it.
You probably did. I would.
Okay.
Ariana's house. I know she does Ariana's house, but there was the legal thing that was just starting, and that's what I was not
So
remembering.
they have a new immigration
Yeah.
law clinic at Willamette as well. So I think there was a link to that too in that email. I'm just trying to find it so I can
Great.
send it to you again. But yeah,
Thank you. And I'm sure I believe that you sent it and it's in my email. Thank you.
it's okay.
Yeah.
I can't find it either. So let me try to find
Is
it.
this the same Jenny that came and talked to us?
It is.
Okay.
Yeah.
Awesome. Okay, last call for anything on this topic. Okay, thank you, Gretchen, for putting that together, and thanks everyone for having that discussion. Moving to rent ordinances. Is this Ilana or Gretchen?
I'll go ahead. I will jump in. I had a little bit of homework to explore the possibility of a partnership with other commissions, and I think Ilana is still planning on doing some outreach or further research on the topic. They and I connected earlier today about that, but I generally learned, I had an initial inquiry with the Planning Commission, and I think with staff, but then I think Joaquin is gonna plan on following up. Generally, so far, they haven't entered this space. They've focused in other areas, but that's not to say they couldn't or that there wouldn't be interest. I had another colleague suggest We do some exploratory conversations or outreach with business entities such as like Latino Business Alliance, Chamber of Commerce, or others that interface with businesses to get a perspective that way. And then another colleague added that during the Our Salem Comprehensive Planning Project, the city heard concerns related to small or minority-owned businesses such as displacement pressures, cost of rent being too high to afford spaces, like Ilana had reported, locational challenges. And so one of the things the planning team did at the city in response to that was create a new live, work, use, or zone or allowance in single family residential zones that are along certain types of streets, arterial streets. In those areas, the city now allows people to start and run retail or service businesses in their homes as long as certain standards are met. So that was one adjustment made as a result of that feedback. And they'd be happy to share more if folks had further questions. I could kick back questions to that person and see what they'd say. Or so I don't know if you'd have questions that you'd like me to ask folks, or if you'd want to start gathering data and perspective to share about what we're hearing and what our concern is to kind of frame or anchor the conversations. So I guess that's what I've got by way of update.
Thank you. Questions or discussion?
I can go ahead and get us started. As Gretchen mentioned, I'll be reaching out to Lisa around some of these questions too. I began my term of service on the planning commission last month, and so still going through onboarding and learning a lot about what is or isn't allowable from the planning commission. But I think priority number one would be liaising with them to really understand, kind of like what we're doing with citizenship and stuff, really the scope of this work. It's not clear to me. Well, I have my opinions about what our role should be at the city, bless you, and what we ought to be allowed to do, but my opinion isn't sufficient, you know, either by tradition or in law, and they may say the state does X, Y, and Z or something like that. I've already gotten some of that feedback already from some folks. So I have a lot to learn about that, but my hope is that they're amenable to having those conversations and that we can have those conversations together, both the Planning Commission and the Human Rights Commission in some capacity. And we're talking about, obviously, businesses. I'm also interested in residential renting practices as well, and so trying to lift some burden from folks for their homes and their businesses. So I think it's the beginning of a long conversation. We have a lot to learn about it. And I will say, I think the benefit is, I think we can get a lot of clarity really soon because there's a lot known about these sorts of laws and policies. So.
Yeah.
Other things.
Yeah, and I'll just add that I am still trying to find people who want to educate me on this topic so that I can then present it back to y'all. So I will be working on that. And in the meantime, I do love the idea of getting in touch with businesses or organizations supporting businesses to hear directly from them, or to even just get the feedback from the Our Salem event, like in writing, so that we can see exactly what was said. I think that would be great.
Okay. Anyone else? All right. Perfect. Now we'll move into election of officers. So, y'all, it's about time. It's election time almost for HRC. That happens so fast. So, attached to the last email, you will see the description of the chair responsibilities and the vice chair responsibilities. We have elections every year and both positions are open. Current holders can rerun, but they have to run. So we're hoping to answer any questions this month. and then having our elections in December. So what questions do people have? No questions. It's crystal clear. Kind of, yeah. Okay.
I'll
Okay.
add something, it also the kind of by tradition, the committee chairs also open up in the new year. And
Oh,
so, we have a lot of opportunities for leadership for folks, and I would really encourage people who are interested to put themselves forward. I mean, there have been years past where it was kind of crickets, and that's not good. This doesn't make for particularly healthy, not that we're not, anyways. So please consider it and whether for the commission or for the committees, to do something, to assume some leadership there. That's really good for everybody.
do we do committee elections in December as well?
I don't think we've locked into that in any consistent way, but it's tended to come up around the same time.
Okay, cool.
You might observe we just recently had a transition at LGBTQIA+, so that may not make sense given that recent transition, but yeah,
Okay.
it's a
Cool.
choice. Yeah,
Well, yeah, well,
that's not as
there's-
locked, that's
yeah.
not locked in like the chair and vice chair in the bylaws that talks about an annual election at the beginning of the year, so, or near the end of the year.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, lots of opportunities for leadership. So hope to see some folks. Last call for questions or discussion around that. Okay, beautiful. Moving to the amended item that I added, chair position. I'm going to move to remove Hamadi as chair of the Human Rights Commission. Is there a second?
I would second just because he hasn't been present at the meetings and I feel like that is a key. I just read the bylaws. I think it was in our email, and that is I can't think of the word, qualification of the chair position.
So it's been seconded. So we'll move into discussion on, or questions and then discussion on the motion. So questions about the motion. Ilana.
As someone newer, could you share if there's anything other than attendance that made you make this motion, if you're comfortable?
Yeah. Great question. It's mostly been attendance. I've chaired about half the meetings since last election. And I think the big part was the meetings on Gaza. I chaired 2 out of the 3 meetings, and those were a really big load. And as vice chair, like I know that's my responsibility to step up and chair meetings when the chair is unable to go. But it's unfortunately it's too common. And he's not as involved on like outside of the commission, the actual commission meetings, then that would be expected of the chair. Yeah. Other questions? Okay. Is there discussion? We don't have to move into this next part, but if there's no discussion, I think we should discuss this. We'll be looking for a motion to, I guess we'll move into, we'll be looking for a motion to vote on this. So I hope there's some discussion. Ilana?
So would that make you the chairperson if it were to pass? Okay, what happens if
Yes.
it passes?
Well,
Gretchen, yes?
It's a good question and it's an unprecedented situation. My first instinct would be that when the chair is unavailable, the vice chair is the next person one points to. So I think we would ask if Kelsey as vice chair would be willing to facilitate until elections are held. I believe you could also move up the election from December to November if you'd like to do it that way as well. Or Kelsey could agree to facilitate November and December as vice chair, and then you do elections in December with a new group taking in January. It's a good question.
My preference would be to move up, if this were to pass, would be to move up the election to November, just so like, because I don't want to put a burden on Kelsey if like you're not ready for it. I guess it's up to you really, but I just don't want to like force this onto you.
We can have that discussion after we vote.
Have we considered just asking the chair for his resignation from the position that he holds rather than forcing a vote behind his back? Like, I agree with everything Kelsey said, and I agree that the chairs lacked in their responsibilities for that position. I also just worry about what it looks like, given that he's not here and we're making essentially a motion to oust him. And I just want to know if we've considered just asking for the resignation.
Yeah, so I can answer that. So a couple of meetings ago, maybe like the August meet? No, probably July. I don't remember when this was. But I did text Hamadi. And like I said, like I'm just curious, like why you haven't come to meetings, and like as the vice chair, I'm having to step up a lot. And he apologized and said that he would be coming to meetings more. But if the commission wanted to move forward on asking him to step down, that was something that he would respect. Specifically, I haven't asked him to submit like resignation because that's like his own choice. But yeah. And yeah, this isn't something that I wanted to do. I was hoping that he would come to the rest of the meetings as he was chair, but yeah. Kira, did you have something?
I did, but I think that you addressed it. I just wanted to know if he had been spoken to, or the issue had previously been tried to be addressed before we made this decision.
I would hop in and second Alana on moving up if we decide to move forward with this, moving up elections, just because of how this is organized, unfortunately, with the vice chair setting up everything just the way it looks, even though it wasn't meditated at all. Just the way that it looks, I feel like moving to a transition of whoever, if anyone wants to step forward, just to make it a little healthier, maybe, if possible. Yeah.
And this is definitely not me wanting to be chair. If it was, I'd be stoked about always running these meetings. Other questions or discussion?
I think as the Human Rights Commission, we're just really nice people, and Hamadi's a great person and he's been at other things. But if it's city council and you were not to show up to meetings time and time again, people would be like, why are you not here? You have to be like, I think we hold everyone accountable. Gretchen holds other people accountable who sign up for the commission, who don't show up, and they're eventually asked to leave the commission. So no one is exempt from that. If it was me, if it was Kelsey, if it was anybody, we would all be in the same boat. So it's not undermining someone's position. I don't think that's the right terminology to use or to think about it that way. I think we all like Hamadi. That's not a concern. So I don't want to, I think that's some of like the language being used and I don't want it to seem that way. I think Kelsey has a very valid concern. And Hamadi's a great person. Nobody's questioning that. He's awesome. We see him at other events, but yeah, I think this is a valid concern. Thank you, Kelsey.
Yeah, absolutely. I did not mean anything towards Kelsey. Love Kelsey, love Hamadi, just
No,
in
nothing.
general with public face. Just wanted
I'm so
resolve
hurt,
issues
Hope.
if possible.
So bad. No. Anyone else? Joaquin, I see your thinking face.
No, it's a rarity.
You also don't have to share.
Gretch laughed a little bit.
Alert media.
A little too hard. Yeah, yeah, this is a tough one for me. I hold a lot of grace for people. You know, we all lead busy lives, and to me, the question is actually less about Hamadi and more about whatever is happening or isn't happening is putting a strain on Kelsey, and that seems to me unfair. I know it's not intended, as has already been said. Hamadi is a great guy, and I really like him. And Kelsey, I said this to me privately. I hope you don't mind me sharing, but Kelsey said, you know, if I wanted to be chair, I would have ran for chair. And Kelsey's ran for vice chair 2 years in a row, and very happy to have elected her to that position. And so, anyways, I have a lot of appreciation for Hamadi, and he will, I hope, you know, if this is adopted, as he has been, contribute to the work of this commission as a member. And I don't know, I leave it to each of our own discretion, but I think this is a tough one. But yeah, but I have a lot of appreciation for Hamadi, and for you, Kelsey, for having stepped up in his stead so much, you know. And I know that you mentioned the Gaza thing in particular. I appreciate Hamadi's effort during that, but it really was kind of the two of us lone wolfing it a little bit, and that was a lot. So anyways.
All right. Any other questions or discussion? And if there are none, is there a motion to vote?
If I may, I think you already have your motion and your
Okay,
second.
great.
So I think you can just roll into ayes
Okay.
and nays. Yeah.
Okay. Okay. All those in favor of removing Chair Jackson from his position as chair, say aye or thumbs up, or yeah.
Aye.
Okay, it's unanimous. Okay.
I'm gonna abstain. So what is that? 7 to 0 to 1?
You currently have 8 members here,
Okay.
and so you'd have 7
Okay.
ayes and 1 abstention.
Okay. That's I appreciate y'all having this discussion. I know, as we mentioned, it was not a topic anyone wanted to breach. And I Gretchen would love to communicate with you about communicating with Hamadi, or maybe that's a you thing. But
I'm happy to, Kelsey.
Okay.
Happy to do that. Yeah.
Okay. And reiterating that Hamadi has done so much for this commission, and has been a great chair, and hope that this allows some space in his life, and on the commission to do some more stuff. Robert, you had something.
Yeah, while we're pending a vote next month for leadership, can the HRC function with just Kelsey assuming the role of a chair, or do we need to appoint an interim vice chair?
You're okay.
Okay.
Yeah. Thank you for checking. Yeah.
Okay. Do we need a vote to move up our elections? Yeah. Or is
I
that
don't
kind of
think
just like,
so.
okay,
I don't think so. What I've seen is the leadership determines the agenda. And so I think you could just determine that that will be on the November agenda.
okay.
Yeah, but it looks like you've got support. There's not disagreement with that here.
Okay, perfect. So we'll plan on next month, November, having our elections for chair and vice chair and potentially committees. In the meantime, if you have questions about those positions, feel free to reach out to Gretchen or leadership. It's a good time. So plan on either self-nominating or asking someone to nominate yourself next month. Yay. Okay, we're moving on to committee and project updates. Community Engagement Committee.
We met last month, and a couple things I think came from that conversation. One was, as you may recall, we were hoping to go to campuses to do outreach like we had done downtown with folks to hear from the community, and that just became too much to juggle logistically. However many half a dozen campuses and about as many commissioners and what days and when and at what time. And so we're not doing away with that exactly, that campus engagement component, but it'll probably be at a later date. Now that we're actually in conversation with colleges, universities to see how we can best do that. And instead we were considering going up and down Lancaster. Is that what we discussed? Lancaster?
Yeah, that's what I took.
I have it slightly different. I just did your notes today and I've got what I'm to do, I think, is compile a dozen or so campus and neighborhood association engagements for the quarter of October, November and December. And then up and down Lancaster is January.
Oh yeah, that sounds.
Is that
So I
right?
started working on that compilation today
Is
of
that
neighborhood
correct?
association meeting dates and things.
Yeah, because we thank you. I
Yes.
think that actually probably is more in alignment with what happened than my memory allows me to remember. Yeah, so we doing this, going out, being purposeful with our engagement with neighborhood associations as a part of this targeted outreach. There are only a few more neighborhood associations than there are commissioners, so in theory, we could all go to every single neighborhood association.
Yes, but rumor has it some serve snacks. No, that was your meeting. That you
That's
had.
ours. But okay, but
Oh.
there's a new Northeast, and Slee might know there's a new Northeast like big neighborhood leadership meeting that happened. So we could hit like multiple birds with one stone with that meeting. And I have to find the date. Actually, I might have it right here, but I'll send it to Gretchen, but it's sometime in October and they meet monthly. And it's like all, and Robert, Sergeant Robert, you might know, because the police are also invited, or Celine might know, but they meet monthly and it's like different leaders from across the Northeast area. So that's one that we could meet. That'd be a good one. But one thing to think about that I didn't know, but I just went to the one in Grant. They are focusing on their goals for 2025 in the next meeting or the next two meetings. So they're not really taking like guest speakers for November. So October's done, November, they're not taking guest speakers for Grant. So the earliest we could meet or speak at Grant would be December. Just FYI. So we'd probably would want to get on the schedule for neighborhood association meetings in as early as we can, or reach out as early as we can, because they fill up pretty quick.
Is it through Salem Leadership Foundation, Kate?
It's not religious based, and I believe that is correct. Yeah. This is like a new like Northeast Neighbors Territory Neighborhood Association meetup. It's for the cool kids. I don't know. I'm not invited, but they opened it up to people to go at the Grant Neighborhood Association meeting. So I'll find the date and I'll let Gretchen know.
Then this was Northeast.
Kate, I wish I knew more. I'm no longer serving as the neighborhood association liaison for the police department. now that I'm in personnel and training. But I know Irma, and
Yeah.
Irma could definitely get you on some agendas. She's fantastic.
Yes, and I
Um,
did see Deb and I told her how amazing you are. So I want to also plug that you were great at the homelessness town hall, and so I did sing your praises. So yes.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, so thank you for that, Kate. And so, we'll have a sign up hopefully for folks to claim neighbor associations or not, but what I will say about that is we've done that in the past to lesser success. And so I really encourage you, if you feel it in your heart, to go speak to these neighbor associations to sign up and to do that. And I know the slate of folks that have been doing this outreach, I think, are excited about it. So it's not the end of the world if folks beyond the committee don't, but I would really encourage you to, if you know the reason, to be an engaged and active neighbor in your neighbor association. So if you don't know who your association is, easy to find out, or easy enough to find out. So that was one topic that we're excited about. Second one was this data inventory conversation. So not a whole lot of updates there. It was more of continuing that work that the city staff have provided us, city staff who will eventually be operationalizing this tool for us. It gave us this, I would say, comprehensive roadmap to get us to a place where they can do their work. And so we've been taking how do you eat an elephant one bite at a time, kind of doing that work. And so we kind of spent a half an hour doing that. And that's kind of the main takeaways from that. Are there any other things that I missed from those conversations that are important? Selene, Robert, Kate, Elon, I think was not there, but that's okay. Yeah.
Sorry, I'm okay. So at the Fiesta, or no, Viva Salem, we have the Fiesta sign. We were next to, is it Northwest Human Services, I believe,
Yes.
in Maria. And they were tabling at Chemeketa with the healthcare event on October 28th. And so there are events happening at Chemeketa that might be bigger events, Gretchen.
Oh, I
And
heard back from Chemeketa today that they didn't have any events that they thought aligned with us. I was explaining how we didn't want to just table, we'd like to be a part of a broader event. And they
Mhm.
wrote back and said, there's nothing. Okay, I will ask about October 28th.
And Joaquin and I were talking about it, and we were like, well, we don't know if that aligns, but then since hospitals are one of our hot spots on our survey, we were like, maybe it does align with our goals. So that's potentially an event we could table, but it is very soon. So that's
Yeah.
also, yeah, it's just coming up.
And it's part of our Smarty goals.
Do we have a-
Kira's thing too.
Do we have a time for the 28th?
Gretchen, it's in the gigantic pile of paperwork that I dropped off for you. So
Okay.
there
I
are a
will
bunch of
look.
flyers in
I
there.
will look. Okay, very good.
There's a stack because we took Maria's paperwork. She left early.
I'll send out the time tomorrow morning, and then if folks are interested, I'll try to make a explanation to Chemeketa why we would fit. If folks are interested, but it'd be good to hear back if folks have, because it's probably a daytime event, I would assume,
Yeah, I think it's from like 9 to 1 during the day.
copy. So if there's availability, because that's a Monday, be good to know.
I'm already gonna be on campus, so I
Oh.
can table.
Hey, Hope, all right.
Yeah,
That works
cool.
out well.
I could easily make myself available for a couple hours.
Oh,
I don't know if
all
I
right.
have the full time available, but I could
Okay,
squeeze out for a couple hours.
If it's 9 to 1, then I could do 9 to 10:30.
nice. We got
I
action.
gotta look to see.
Yeah, right.
I'll commit to the 10:30 to 1, Gretchen, so I can pick it up from, I'm not a morning person, so I can get it open.
Okay.
It's part of Salem's Binational Health Week.
Oh, we got this.
And it's from 9 to 1 at Chemeketa. It looks like building number 2.
Great. I'll see if I can get us a table.
And Martina looks like is in from 10 to 1.
I could do 9.
Copy.
I'm sorry. I can't do the other later time. Is that terrible? What time are you gonna be there?
10 to 1.
Oh,
But hopefully they're at 9, and so you can work with Hope.
I was hoping to avoid both of you. Darn.
Thanks.
I'll do 2 to 4. No. I'll get the end of yours and the beginning of yours. How about that?
Okay. All right, perfect. Doing something.
Great.
One of you guys is going to get voluntold to help me.
If I wasn't working, I would be there.
I know what the.
Oh, yeah.
Don't you work,
So
don't
I
you work in
couldn't
healthcare,
even-
Kelsey?
What?
Don't you work in healthcare, Kelsey?
Yeah, but in Yamhill County. I don't think I could justify this one.
I think you could. I'll help you justify it.
Robert's a
See,
wordsmith.
Robert.
so-
Yeah.
I love it.
No, I'll find somebody. I'll just drag a colleague from work.
Great.
Megan's always down for an adventure.
Yes, she is.
So productive, y'all.
Productive does, there's some intersection.
Moving on to the homelessness town hall, and Robert, I want to apologize. I was out of town, but I'm glad that Gretchen sent out the link to the YouTube video, so I'm looking forward to watching that. But Robert, do you want to tell us about it?
Yeah, so the Homeless Services Town Hall, I thought was a big success. Thank you to everybody that participated helping out on the day of the event. Thanks to all of our speakers and our guests for attending. I believe we had 47 people, 50. There was a quite a good.
Sign up for questions.
Yeah.
Oh.
Well, audience,
No.
like audience
Yeah, there
members.
was-
I think there's quite a few audience members, and we had, like over like
There's
50,
117 audience members.
117
Somebody else
audience
counted
members.
Around a similar
Oh.
number.
So more than 50, so 100 and something audience members, which that was great. We had quite a few questions that I thought, I definitely arranged. Some of them were, very thought-provoking questions. Some of them, were questions that, we likely anticipated. But I didn't really see anything, quite a bit, anything from, like audience reaction, like during the event. But from what I heard and everything, it sounds like a lot of the audience members were, really engaged, really enjoyed the material and everything that was being presented. We did have one guest who was a little outspoken. I'd say anything, kind of, like his discontent with some of the organizations and everything that were presenting. But hats off to Gretchen, who did a really good job in in that situation, and Sergeant Dodd as well for stepping in. And so I thought it was really great that we were able to make it an environment where everyone felt welcome, and that together, as commissioners, staff, and liaisons from other departments, we were able to really meet our guests where they were at in that moment, and make sure that everyone was able to participate. That gentleman was able to participate through the entire event, and was able to sit towards the front of everything and take in a lot of the information. And I thought it just really showed and highlighted everything, kind of who we are as a commission, that we want events like this that especially focus around housing homelessness to be accessible for those individuals that are experiencing homelessness. And I appreciate everybody taking those extra steps to make sure that gentleman it would be included. So I will give it off to some of my fellow commissioners to provide input on what they thought of the event or how they thought the event went.
I'll begin by saying it's a huge kudos to everyone, especially you, Robert, for making this a reality. My takeaway, other than just how informative it was and how many positive things are happening in Salem for folks experiencing houselessness, this was a lot of the strength and goodness of the HRC on full display. And between the conflict resolution that was happening, afterwards and during that kind of Gretchen modeled, and then Sergeant Dow did afterwards, to the amount of folks who came out from the public of all backgrounds. I mean, Robert, you said that you didn't really know how folks were engaging with the material. I think I mentioned this to you the night of. Folks were doing this every other slide. They were taking pictures, including some city councilors kind of were making notes, and they were like, "What's going on?" And they were really interested. And I've heard from senior leadership from the city, from staff people, from city councilors, from the mayor himself. He came by, Cater members, and commented on the event. People were really psyched about this event, really enthused, and it's just congratulations all around to everyone who made it happen, so. And Linnell, our star speaker, especially, I think, presented, as you mentioned earlier, Robert, a really moving introduction to the event and really brought us into the space and centered us throughout. And anyways, I think more events like that are needed, and I think are starting good conversations around the city. So kudos to everybody.
I'm gonna hop in really quick. I went with my dad, who's very excited. He said that it was like one of the most thoughtful events that he's been to that are centering around this issue, and he loved Linnell opening. He said it was like the perfect introduction because it just brings a whole like thoughtful and really generous just environment to everything. So he thought it was amazing. I thought it was amazing. It was really great.
Yeah, Linnell's intro made one of my friends cry who was there. So Linnell, amazing job. And I just want to say for Sergeant Dowd, what I said to Chief Deputy Deb, what my dog is trying to talk to me right now. I was saying that like we did not need police contact with that one individual until he asked for it at the end. He asked to speak to Sergeant Dowd. So he said, I like that guy. He made good points. I want to talk to him. We're like, fantastic. We'll go get him for you. No problem. So that's when he was able to speak to police. There was no intervention. Gretchen was incredible with that one individual too. So there was no intervention needed until he requested it. So that was phenomenal. Yeah. So that was, Joaquin, exactly what you said. Thank you.
Gretchen really did a fantastic job, and that individual and I stayed after for about 45 minutes and had a very thoughtful conversation. And I gave him my phone number and offered to be a resource for him at any time. So it was a very nice event, and I'm grateful for the opportunity to be there and to participate.
That's amazing. I can't wait to watch this video. I'm like tearing up, y'all.
Oh, Kelsey, the video is not the whole thing. What it is it's a little coverage from Salem Buzz,
Okay.
the little news program that CC Media does. So it's just a brief little, but it does have little snippets that'll show you
Okay.
pictures.
Great.
Yeah.
Okay. Yep. Robert, bravo.
Thank you. Yeah, I think, the recommendation would be to definitely analyze more kind of specific topics. I think there were a lot of, housing homelessness or, just other areas of focus for the HRC, and to do a lot more of them. As Joaquin said, that was really a good way for, the Human Rights Commission to kind of just really put ourselves out there. And, it was a really good opportunity for us to educate the public about the efforts that are being done in our community. So I look forward to exploring future town halls.
Great. LGBTQIA+ Intersectional Rights Task Force, Kira.
Hello. So our very own Commissioner Alana Lynn has volunteered to speak for the Transgender Day of Remembrance, and the committee is in full support of that. We're really excited. Event planning is still going on, and we decided to move the start time to 6 p.m. Gretchen and I have finalized a letter that'll go out to Salem Capital Pride asking for readers, and Alana's designed the event posters and social media graphics. They did a fantastic job. And I think additionally, the committee just continued to work on our SMARTY goals. If I'm missing anything, please feel free to step in, but I think that's about it. Yeah.
Fantastic. Okay, great. We'll now move in. I left the agenda. We'll move into the process review task force. Ilana.
Yeah, so we in the meeting prior to the last one, we had decided to break up who would be drafting the various procedures we had decided that the commission could benefit from. And so Kelsey, MVP, drafted a good start at some of the procedures that we will present to the entire commission once they're finalized. And we also got some more clarity on the direction we're going to go. So we decided to draft just like general rules for all of our like usual meetings, and then also rules for meetings such as the one we discussed on the Citizenship Sanctuary Chapter 97. So that way we have a clear understanding of how specialty meetings should go. We still haven't found the right name for it, so they will still be specialty meetings for the time being. And like normal meetings would go. And so we are continuing to work on that. And once we have something ready for review, we will present that to you guys.
Any questions? Okay. Moving to Salem Speaks Up. We have an official budget, which was exciting. So we'll have a little like wiggle room, or not wiggle room, but like some stuff to work with. We are officially at Laux Auditorium for December 10th. Doors open at 5:30, event starts at 6. Focusing on centering community voices, highlighting that this is the anniversary of the Universal Declaration of Human Rights. We're gonna have a little bit more of like information. So we're gonna have like a slideshow that will like cycle through before and then during breaks and then after. As usual, the mayor is going to have a proclamation that he will be reading at the event, just like last year. And then the biggest thing kind of that is different than last year is that we're going to have a little bit of time to focus specifically on housing and homelessness. So kind of thinking off of the homelessness town hall. We're going to prioritize people with lived experiences. And let's see. And then also have some agencies involved there. So really promoting that open mic aspect. And then also highlighting our youth voice. So hope we'll get the word out.
Ah, good to know. Okay. Cool.
You're just the youth voice.
Let's do it. Yes. Sounds good.
Gung ho, I like it.
Well, we'll be able to utilize the event on the 28th to speak about Salem Speaks Up. So if we are invited to table, that would be a good opportunity to.
And hope we'll be there.
Yeah, hope we'll be there. That's what I word. So
perfect. We'll get more information out. Yeah, we meet next on the 15th. So, all right, any questions? Okie dokie. All right, going to equity ask and staff updates.
Not anything. I thought about it and I don't have anything, so no report this month.
Wow.
I know.
Ilana, I do want to just say that your dog is back and forth in this video and it just makes me so happy. All I see is little ears.
My partner's putting our ducks up right now, and so he can't decide if he wants to be out putting the ducks up or be out in the front watching if anyone will enter his area. It's a fun back and
hard
forth.
choices. I get that. Community calendar. Oh.
All right, we have some events and then I have one to add that is not on the calendar. Yeah, so October 10th from 10 a.m. to 12 p.m. the Fair Housing Council of Oregon and the Evicted in Oregon research team at Portland State University are going to be hosting a webinar on housing discrimination in Oregon, and they'll be presenting on 3 important reports, and signups are available in the calendar. October 14th from 1 to 6 p.m. at Riverfront Park, Indigenous Now is hosting an Indigenous Peoples Day. They're inviting people to come out and enjoy the speakers and expedition dancing from our Native and Indigenous performers. They've got more information as well. The added one is October 17th, in West Salem, we're gonna be doing our own peace walk at 7. We're gonna be meeting on Edgewater Street in front of like Annette's restaurant. Yeah, so we've got that. October 20th at 2 p.m., the City of Salem is hosting their volunteer appreciation event at Laux Auditorium. Then December 10th, Salem Speaks Up will be hosting the annual community event at Laux Auditorium. And I did not have more information, but now I do. So I will update that all for the next calendar. That is all I've got for right now.
I have a question.
Yes,
The Peace Walk in West Salem starts at what time you said?
7.
And then you start at Annette's and then you walk where? Up and down
We're
Edgewater or
going up
into
and
the
down to
neighborhood?
Edgewater, what I know.
Awesome.
Yes,
That's great.
they're finalizing flyers. I can email those to Gretchen.
Sure. Good.
Great. Okay, oh no, I closed the agenda. I think it's member remarks.
Member remarks, yep, you're
Okay.
right.
Member remarks and announcements. Kate,
Yeah, just for events, we are only doing like human rights related events, right? As I know, like
you can announce things.
okay, well at the I can share what our neighborhood association announced for events if that helps. So on October 26th, there are 2 events in the city. There's a park cleanup in Grant from 11 to 1 at Grant Park. That's really in, if you don't live there, you don't have to go, but if you want to come volunteer and clean up, you can. And then from 3 to 5 that day on the 26th, as Sergeant Dowd knows, there is a Halloween dress rehearsal at the police station. So the police, they're inviting everybody. Yeah. And then on October 27th, they're at the Old Mill. There is a drive-through Halloween event, and they're expecting about 400 kids. So that's 12 to 4 p.m. And I think they're accepting like candy donations as well. So, and volunteers. So there will be a lot of children and adults there, I guess, too. Everybody's welcome to accept candy. The leadership meeting I was talking about was today at lunchtime, but it's held every month, so I'll try to figure out the logistics for the next one. If anyone wants to do CERT training, the next Salem one starts January 9th, and it's a 6, I think maybe 7 session class, and it's on Thursday nights. It goes until February 15th, and it's at Fire Station 6. And there is a contact for that, so I can give you that information. But I don't know if that person wants their email just displayed publicly. So if you would like that, I can give it to Gretchen. But yeah, those are the events that they shared. And we are organizing a peace walk with Grant. I just don't have a date yet for that.
I have one question. What is a dress rehearsal, a Halloween dress rehearsal?
So we host this event annually. We bring kids and families to the police department, and we teach kids and families about trick-or-treating safety. Not to go up to front doors alone. So they get to come in costume, and we have a bunch of mock front doors, and we give a little class about how to be safe, and then they can walk around and knock and ring the fake doorbells and whatnot and get practice at safely trick-or-treating. And we give them candy.
Oh, fun. That's neat.
We're also gonna have a cookie with a cop event in December. Cause not everybody likes coffee, and so we just finished National Coffee with a Cop last week, but we're gonna do a cookie with a cop event in December, but I don't have a date on it yet. They're still planning it. But come have a cookie with me.
Will you be there?
I guess I will.
One more thing. So I think it's Chief Deputy Aguilar. She said that the downtown unit is dispersing. Is that right? Or do you want to talk about that, Sergeant?
Yes, so the community action unit is being disbanded effective January 6th. So when I first took over the unit, there was 6. It went down to 5. Recently, as of the beginning of October, went down to 4. And they're going to go away in the beginning of the year. And so those officers are going to be reallocated back to patrol at this point in time. I know the chief would like to do some other really fantastic things, but all of those are gonna be dependent on budget and what we have personnel wise. But we have to prioritize patrol. We have to have a robust patrol response to go to emergency calls for service.
And what she said in the grant meeting, to appease people was that there are about 20 people in training for this year and that they weren't able to go out on their own yet. And that at a future date and time, they want to bring that unit back. So it's not going away indefinitely, or well, it's not going away forever. They want to bring it back, but right now it's just there's not enough staff.
Yeah, so I'm very well versed in the hiring and training because that's what I do now. So we just swore in on Monday. We swore in 7 new officers. It's been our largest hiring group in at least 5 years. We have over 20 people in various stages of training right now that will be eventually becoming solo officers. We currently have 8 vacancies, but we have 4 anticipated vacancies between now and the beginning of November. So we'll be back down to 12. But I currently have a open hiring process that closes on October 21st, in which there are at least 64 applicants. Some of them need to finish up some of their testing, both the written and the physical tests, but potentially we'll be interviewing up to 64-ish plus or minus people, which will be really huge. That's a really large interview group the first week in November. With I've got also 5 people that are currently in backgrounds that I'm hoping to hire the beginning of December. And then we'll see how many we get out of this interview panel to hire another large group in February. But all this is dependent on whether or not we lose any positions due to budget cuts. I don't want to hire people and then have to lay them off. That would be terrible.
Wow, that's a lot going on. Wow, okay.
My life got 10 times busier when I left the community engagement unit to take over the personnel and training unit.
So wrote that job description a little more clearly.
Oh. Any other member remarks or announcements, Ilana?
I just wanted to flag this for future discussion, which I should just start emailing Gretchen about these better. But at the Salem Pride event, we did have the protesters end up right in front of our table. And it got me thinking of ways that we could protect future events that we hold that might have protesters, but also events that we are at. I believe it was Joaquin who crushed my dreams of putting them in like having a designated protester area, and informed me that that was found unconstitutional. But if there is anything we could do, if we could ask like the city legal team or find some way to protect people from it, specifically thing about Transgender Day of Remembrance. I don't know if you guys have had protesters in the past. Well, that's good. But I could foresee that being an event where it happens. And that's right around the corner. So I understand if there's nothing we can do because of freedom of speech, but if there is something we could do, I'd like to know about it.
Ilana, on that, so about the only thing I could propose is that if you had a private event, then you can obviously restrict who comes and goes. But if it's a public event, especially in a public forum, then everybody has a right to be there and express their own views, even if they're contradictory to the intent of the event. And I wanted to ask Ilana and Kira, so Gretchen had asked if I would come to the Transgender Day of Remembrance and had asked that I come in a softer uniform. I want to honor that in whatever way I possibly can. What would your intent be? What would you like me to look like for the event?
I think that the committee had just discussed, it's been like 2 weeks. I've slept since then. Okay, you guys. I think the committee had discussed you still being recognizable, but maybe more approachable. So it's not full uniform, but something that distinguishes that you are a police officer and that they can approach you. And then also shows that you're in support of the event because you're there. Anyone else want to add anything to that? I think that's pretty much what we discussed.
Yeah, if you have like a t-shirt that says like Salem Police and then like
Sure. I actually do, and because we used to go do outreach events with youth, and it's not very comfortable to play basketball in a load-bearing vest. And so I do have a t-shirt. It's a black t-shirt that has some print on it, screen print on it. So just for the commission's awareness, if I'm in public and interacting with the public in a police capacity, then there's some policies that dictate that I have to have a body camera on, and I have to have a radio and particular gear. So if you all are inviting me to just come and hang out, I can come in my t-shirt and just a pair of pants, and I can have a concealed gun, and that way I can keep us all safe if anything was to go awry. But if you're asking me to come and act more as a police officer, I would probably need to be in more of a full police uniform so that I could have all of my bat gear, if you will.
Former is what we were looking for.
Okay.
Yeah, I think this might be a deferred conversation only because I know Deb has been in an official capacity and was dressed down at some level. So
Sure.
I don't know what that means literally, but I know some compromise has been arranged previously.
Okay.
So I don't know. Do you have any input, Gretchen, on this?
Just remember like a polo shirt so you can see the logo
Yeah.
and there is some gear on.
Yeah, she did.
Okay.
Yeah, there's some
I've got
gear,
that
but
too.
it's-
So I've got t-shirts, I got polos, I got all this stuff.
Bring your wardrobe, just.
Maybe I'll fashion show or something at the
Give us
next
some
meeting.
options.
Yeah.
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 Where's
We're
the
gonna be there
towel?
for hair and makeup.
Yeah, excellent, yeah.
Yeah, well, dress call beforehand.
Okay.
We can just go through different. It's fine.
Awesome.
Tonight on the main stage, we're serving.
I love where this went.
I do have one question in regards to the protesters. Gretchen, I know I talked to you about the possibility if we had any say-so or there was anything we could do about the images, the graphic images that they were using. Did you find out anything on that?
You know, I have a partial update on that. I had a conversation with Zach from Pride. And they updated me on some of the steps that they're looking into and taking with all of those same questions.
Okay.
But we didn't have a lot of time, and so I wanted to do a follow-up and get some additional clarity and particularly ask, how can we help and contribute in those conversations? And so I haven't finished the conversation yet, but I'm working towards an update. for
Okay,
you on that.
awesome.
Yeah,
Thank you. I really appreciate it.
yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, kudos for Pride. They were very prepared. They had like sheets to kind of cover and to like be a barrier. And also kudos to the Salem police who stepped up kind of when things got a little heated. And again, we're kind of just a barrier. So that was really appreciated on both of those parties. So thank you for that. That was a great event. Yeah. Any last member remarks or announcements?
I have one. So my term ends in December. I've reapplied and I don't know how that all is going to go, but so I will be here until August of next year for sure, and then possibly after that, but I'm still not sure where I'm going for college. So I might be here in Salem, I might not, but I don't know how that's going to go. Just
Well,
just a little bit to pop in there.
Same
Honor
here.
to
I
have
guess
you.
I was a temporary member. We found out. So Gretchen, yeah, I guess we didn't know that, but Gretchen and I now know that. So yeah. So I've reapplied as well.
Exciting. Great.
I have a remark.
Joaquin.
I am not, I'm a full-term member. It's not, no.
Excuse us.
No, that's not my remark. My remark is, I brought this up at the Community Engagement Committee, and I wanted to give it some airtime tonight too. Which is to bring an event that I used to do in a former life, which is MMIW, Missing and Murdered Indigenous Women's Day, which is on Valentine's Day on February 14th. And to bring that to Salem in some capacity, probably in a spirit not so different from Trans Day Remembrance as well. And so we kind of I just put it on the table like I'm doing now, very last minute at our meeting last time, but I'll be talking with Gretchen, lucky you, about who to reach out for that, and probably some Indigenous community here in Salem and maybe even some tribal partners to see what we can do. Maybe as soon as coming February. I mean, that's some months to land that plane, but that might be too ambitious. I'm not sure. So
I think we can pull it off.
well, it's really up to the tribal communities and what the folks say. But I think that's something I think Indigenous issues is broadly missing in Salem, and as an Indigenous person, that hurts. But I think this is maybe a good and healing way to begin having some more conversations around that. So just wanted to put that on your radar. So if you have any reactions to that, let me know later.
Great.
I have just a couple announcements. The downtown Peace Walk is tomorrow, starting at St. Thomas Church at 7. And then Highland Neighborhood's having a fall festival this Saturday from 11 to 1, where they're having like professional photos taken with like fall things, I don't know, pumpkins.
Great. Okay. So much is happening, y'all. Wow. Okay, last call for member announcements and remarks. Okie dokie. You're getting 9 minutes back. I hope you all have a wonderful evening. And see everyone later.
Kelsey, thanks for jumping in.
Of course. Do we want to have a leadership meeting?